Hello, this is Professor Angelia. And today we're going to start Works of Arts, What to Do in the Moment, Women in Workplace Emotions class. Now, I've been doing half-hour blocks, but due to my health, I'm getting less and less time to work. I don't want to cut out my creative endeavors because that's what makes me feel good during the day. So I'm probably going to make smaller chunks, not half-hour chunks, like maybe 5-10 minute chunks. So here we go. What to do in the moment, women in workplace emotions, of course compiled and written by me. Vincent van Gogh said, let's not forget the small emotions are the great captains of our lives. And that's true. Aldous Huxley said, experience is not what happens to a man. It is what a man does with what happened to him. I worked for many different companies over the years. You can just look at my little dossier on Facebook. Sometimes I was very proud of what I'd accomplished for these companies. I worked for many different companies, and I could do things at 4 times the speed most people there could and get things done that others seemed not to be able to or struggled with. It required study, dedication, and not being lazy. Most of my bosses were impressed and couldn't say enough good things to or about me. Some told me how they'd been struggling to figure out how to do things or make them easier, and were amazed at how I'd been able to come in and get things done. I even became an office management consultant for $50 per hour for a while, but my heart wasn't in it. I hated selling, and management came easy to me. I hated retail, and I liked business. I had a few managers who grilled me on every step I took. I even had one business owner who asked me why I was doing a thing every time I did a thing. I applied for several jobs in the clerical world, finding out that some of them had no idea what the pay scale was and wanted me to start out at minimum wage. I had to laugh at some of these people's clear lack of valuing their employees. I had a supervisor once tell me that everyone was replaceable. I heard that he had to hire 4 people to fill my shoes after I left. Yeah, I had a good laugh about it. I knew what I was worth. I was a hard worker, did my best, and was willing to correct a mistake when I made one. I also had no problem leaving a job if they pushed me too far. I knew that I was good, and I wanted others to do their best, too. And that's where I often found problems. I was a real yuppie and wanted to have it all. I was happy and flowing in my life. I was top of the heap. I built small businesses up to bigger ones. I was the golden girl, getting calls from employers by word of mouth. Then, when I expected to be lauded for my successes, a few people who were a little higher on the ladder than me decided to shove me down a few rungs. I had been so happy. But now, I was being griped at by people who I had looked up to. It was a shock. I felt like a child being chastised. Then, I realized that these attacks had nothing to do with my business savvy. They were personal attacks. I wasn't worth what they were, and so they decided that I had some kind of personal problem that was causing me not to excel as fast as they had predicted. It wasn't at all that their systems weren't for the type of business I was starting, which was a ministry and then a charity, not a sales-based business. You have to remember that bosses sometimes have their own agendas. We are not responsible for making their dreams come true. The business owners and managers of a company, well, that's their job. If the owner of a company wants it to succeed, they need to be involved in the day-to-day running of their business, no matter what some autopilot guru is preaching to them. We cannot control other people's expectations of us, but we can deal with them. If we play a small part in their dreams and success, well, that's on them. Personal attacks will not help you grow your business, only further derail it. We can't ruin somebody's business unless they have given us that power. No matter how much rage they spit at us, we have to remember it's their business, not ours, unless it is ours. Then, no one should think that they have the right to criticize how we conduct it. Sometimes bosses throw civility and reason out the window just when they should be using it. You shouldn't have to apologize for something that's out of your control. It's startling and infuriating when we get chewed out for something that we didn't do, or we had no control over the outcome. Especially if we are singled out for things that are commonplace, or we are made an exception to a policy that everyone else observes. We must maintain our own control. If we return outburst for outburst, that's professional suicide. Threats to fire you for things out of your control are just your boss's frustrated outbursts. If you know that you had nothing to do with an unfavorable outcome, then acknowledge that in your head. Take a step back. But unfortunately, there are always those who like to get up in your face. If you know that you know better than them, don't sweat it. Inner dialogue may not heal the emotional wounds, but it can help you remind yourself that you are not at fault. It's frustrating when people can only see their points of view. It can leave us shook up and confused. It may even make us cry. We will usually then analyze our part in the happening and try to see if we had any fault in the matter or not. If we didn't do anything wrong, then we have to admit that to ourselves. If the other person is just being very critical, we have to allow them their opinion without letting it harm us emotionally. If you mull the situation over and find that you couldn't have done anything differently, then you have to let it go. We all get angry, but we need to find safe and healthy ways to express that anger. Sometimes we can just go home and cry. We can hit a pillow or a punching bag. Anger usually needs to be released. It won't just go away on its own. Sometimes people want to hurt us, and they can succeed. Hurting someone's feelings says more about you than the person who you hurt. Once we vent, then we need to move on. Bottling up your feelings to appear unaffected usually just makes us feel worse inside. When others attack us so that we feel humiliated, it especially hurts. Emotions are not a thing to war with. Shock, anger, anxiety, fear, and sadness are powerful. If we fight them, we usually lose. When at work, we may only have a moment to recover, and that can be hard to do. We may want to vent to other coworkers to gain sympathy or support, especially if we know that we did the right thing or the best thing that we could have in the situation. This can make us feel like us against them is in effect, but it may not really be the case. It's hard to handle feelings in a moment. What if others think we were wrong? What if we upset others too much and it affects the work environment? But we don't want people to feel undervalued either. It's a balancing act sometimes. If you're the boss, then you want your people to succeed and do their best. It hurts when we know we've worked hard and someone undervalues us. We can pretend the incident was no big deal until we can effectively deal with the emotions later. Oh, excuse me. Emotional attacks can bring it on, or they can worsen post-traumatic stress. We may become afraid that we won't be able to function in that environment again. We may avoid talking about the incident. That's why we should always thank someone who did a job for us. And if they did a great job, tell them so. If you suddenly come down sick, most people will know that is an excuse to go home and recover or deal with the emotional onslaught that just happened. If we are very angry, we may need to go be alone. The faster, the better. Even top executives are not immune to personal attacks. Some bosses just like to shout or snarl at people. What we have to realize is that if you are working for someone else, it's just a job. We may be on top and feel like a part of a great team, like we lucked out into the right place at the right time. You have to realize the reasons that you took this job are not the company's reasons for hiring you. Their reasons are always the bottom line. We are cogs to increase revenue and bring up stock prices. If they lose us, they can replace us. What you have to give yourself is the insight that you are not a cog in a machine. You don't have to kill yourself and still be treated like crap. It will take a while, but with enough bullying or mistreatment, you'll get there. While quitting your job without a new one isn't always advisable, you alone know what you can handle and what you can't. Sometimes, things that feel like a big deal aren't. A lot of people use let's turn my page here. Will this matter in 5 years? Ruler to measure the severity of things. If you think about things logically, decide whether the person attacking you has any legitimate reason for doing it. It's okay to cry when we're upset. It's an emotional release. Crying doesn't make you weak. Not facing your emotions can make you weak. Even though it's very hard not to take everything personal, we need to try. Not everyone is the same. We can pretend to be emotionless Vulcans, but we know that we aren't. Your work should be a joy to you, your life's vocation, not the dread you face every day. Everyone may handle different situations differently. You know that someone else may be very similar. Especially women bond quickly and want our coworkers to like and be like us. But even the best teams can have very different personalities in them, which handle any operations differently. Does that make them wrong? No. It just makes them an individual, not a clone. While we can project outward calm, we may actually be a nervous wreck inside. If we wear our emotions on our sleeve, others may bait us to get an emotional reaction. Some people are very sensitive and get teary-eyed when yelled at. Some emotionally maladjusted bosses like to make them cry. Some people get very excited and happy when a job works out well. And some people like to bring them down to their miserable level. Decent people who have empathy and understanding that we all aren't the same can help a team's creativity. And these people are the ones that thin-skinned people need to be around. Not the callous bullies that we sometimes still find out in grown-up life. No certain level of emotional sensitivity is the best. If you are sensitive, there are good things about that and bad things about that. It's all about finding a balance. Being sensitive is not a weakness to be overcome. No one has to suck it up to fit in with others. Sometimes trying to act like who you think others at work want you to be can be harder than your actual job. If you have put on another face for your coworkers, then you are in the wrong workplace. If you have put on a persona, then you are in the wrong line of work. If you have to force yourself to act like one of the gang, then you are in with the wrong people. Some people can shake off slights easily, or just let insults run off like water from a duck's back. You can only pretend so far. Having a professional self and a personal self is something that males have had to deal with far longer than women have. Some people really are inside how they appear to be on the outside. Sometimes cute people aren't taken seriously on the job. A person's happiness may be the envy of other workers who aren't so happy in their personal life. Some people are just naturally cheerful. Cheerfulness can actually make you stronger and more resilient by looking at the positive side of things. Some people believe that some races are more sensitive than others, but that is not the case. We all feel challenged at one time or another. We can benefit from mentors in fields that we are trying to rise in. You can usually find someone at the top who's willing to talk, turn the page here, to you about your field. They may give you some new ideas on how to reach that big break that you are looking for. Just realize that they are very serious about their passions as well, since they have already made it. Just be careful, because even at the top, some people are still insecure and may want to prove their mastery over you. If someone forewarns us about a person, remember that that is their experience. Their personality may have not been compatible with that person's, but that doesn't mean that you'll have the same problem. But sometimes, by being forewarned, you can be forearmed if such a situation arises. Some bosses have alcohol and substance abuse problems and want their team to be exceptional to cover for their lacking. So, listen to your coworkers, but always make your own decisions about a person. Sometimes, you may just have caught them at a bad time. Some people can seem bipolar based on how quickly they go from a good mood to a bad one. Sometimes you can tell from the way they are looking at you that you are about to be attacked. Just be as polite as you can be. Sometimes your best is not even good enough for someone in a bad mood. Insults are easy to fling. Some people actually want to make you cry. Sometimes it can feel terrifying. If we can maintain a sense of humor after such an attack, it can help everyone in the office. If you can calmly defend your position, then you have actually kept the upper hand as far as all witnesses will be concerned. Sometimes, the boss can be the most insecure person there. If you can make a joke about it afterwards, then everyone can laugh and relax that more drama and trauma aren't imminent. A laugh can turn a traumatic event into a funny scene. The boss may even realize that they were being a bit overworked and get a laugh out of it too. If you are able to keep your cool and answer calmly and defend your position, the boss will respect that, usually. Nasty bosses actually respect people who stand up for themselves more than those who let themselves be run roughshod over. And that's all for today. Hope you found that educational and informational. And that's all. Until next time.